Today, we're really digging into something potentially huge.
Yeah, big news.
Absolutely. We're focusing on the massive upgrades hitting Pi Social. It's a key part of the Pi network ecosystem. And the goal seems to be transforming it into a proper Web3 social infrastructure.
That's the ambition, definitely.
And the timing is pretty striking, too. These changes are landing right as the open network launches, which, believe it or not, is scheduled for today, September 3rd, 2025.
Right on the button.
So this isn't just tweaking a few features. It feels more like, well, a fundamental shift in the architecture. Our goal today, for you listening, is to unpack what this all means. How you might interact differently, how you could get involved in governance, maybe even how your contributions get valued.
Monetized, potentially.
Exactly. It's a big moment, potentially, for how we think about social stuff online.
It really is.
Yeah.
And just to set the scene a bit, when we talk about Web3 social infrastructure, well, the core idea is moving away from these big centralized platforms that control everything, right? Our data, our interactions.
We use every day.
Precisely. So the promise of a truly decentralized social platform is, well, it's significant. Lots have tried. It's not easy.
Sure.
But Pi Social, with its particular approach, is trying to build this foundation where control actually shifts back to you, the users, letting communities govern themselves, ensuring the value created actually stays with the people creating it.
Well,
He's trying to avoid those pitfalls, the data monopolies, the murky decisions we see elsewhere.
okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts. Where do we start? The foundation, I guess.
Got to start there.
Right. Like building a city, you need the roads and pipes first. So the engine behind all this seems to be something called Protocol v23.01.
That's the one.
Launching right alongside the open network today. And it sounds like it's specifically geared towards powering up Pi Social.
Directly impacting it, yeah.
And it's got some key features packed in. For instance, decentralized identity verification. That sounds important.
Crucial.
And it's based on ERC 3643 standards. Now, I know ERC 20, ERC 721 for tokens and NFTs, but 3643, what's special there?
Good question. So ERC 3643 is specifically designed for, well, compliant, verifiable digital identity claims. Think verifiable credentials.
Okay, so it's built for proving who you are reliably in a decentralized way.
Exactly, which is vital for trust and even things like regulatory clarity when you're building a social space like this.
Got it. What else is in this protocol update?
Well, there's biometric authentication too, using passkey for login.
Oh, nice. Like fingerprint or Face ID instead of password?
Pretty much, yeah. Much more secure. And they're expanding Linux node support.
Okay, why does that matter?
It basically opens the door for more tech-savvy folks in the community to run nodes, contribute computing power. That helps with scalability, making the network stronger, and interoperability.
Right, tapping into a wider pool of node operators?
And crucially, it brings full support for public smart contracts.
Smart contracts. That unlocks a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. It enables some pretty sophisticated interactions between different apps within the Pi ecosystem.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how these specific technical upgrades really try to move beyond just theory. Decentralization as a buzzword.
Making it practical.
Exactly. This infrastructure, with Protocol v23.01, it's tackling real engineering challenges. How do you manage potentially millions of users efficiently while staying decentralized? That verifiable KYC identity using the ERC 3643 framework, that's not just about security theater. It's directly aimed at fighting off bot farms, Sybil attacks.
The stuff that plagues new networks.
Precisely. Things that undermine governance in decentralized systems. So building that foundation of real people participating from the get-go, that's a big hurdle they're addressing up front. It lets Pi Social support actual community-driven apps, lets the network grow organically with... That does sound like a solid technical base. But, with that kind of power, especially around identity and smart contracts,
Yeah.
what are the biggest risks? Or maybe the biggest governance challenges Pi might face? Like preventing misuse, ensuring fair access, especially as it scales up.
That's a really important question. The idea is that the smart contracts themselves enforce the rules. They're transparent, they can't be easily changed once deployed.
Immutable.
Right. But the
Yeah.
challenge is defining those initial rules.
Yeah.
And figuring out how they can evolve over time. How does the community update them? And ensuring fair access. That's a balancing act. You need verified identity for trust, but you don't want to exclude people unfairly.
Tricky.
Very. So the community itself will have to grapple with these things through the governance processes. It's not like a switch you flip day one and it's solved. It's a framework for ongoing community-led decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got the tech foundation laid out. Now, how does this connect back to, well, to you, the user, to your everyday experience on Pi Social?
Right, the practical side.
One of the core ideas seems to be strengthening your digital identity. Not just as a login, but framing it as a social asset.
A key concept.
Through this decentralized KYC system Pi Network has, your verified identity isn't just proof you're real. It's meant to reflect your reputation, maybe contributions you've made.
You're standing in the community.
Exactly, and even your governance rights. And critically, you can supposedly use this identity across different activities, social and economic, within the whole Pi ecosystem.
And then this is, well, it's a pretty profound shift, isn't it? Compared to how online identity usually works.
How so?
Think about it. Online reputation now is fragmented, easily faked, or totally controlled by whatever platform you're on. Facebook knows your social graph, but you don't own it. Pi Social's approach, using decentralized KYC, aims for something more robust, more trustworthy. The trust you build, the things you contribute, they're tied to a provable identity you control, at least in theory. It goes beyond just, is this person real, to understanding their verified participation, their influence. It makes your online presence potentially much more meaningful and hopefully more secure within Pi.
And there's a very practical integration layer here too, isn't there, with the .pi domain?
Ah, yes, the domains.
Which, just a reminder for everyone, are currently in auction right now. That auction runs until September 30th, 2025.
So still time to participate if you're interested.
Right. And if you get one, you'll be able to link your unique .pi domain directly to your Pi Social profile. It seems like a neat way to create a consistent, recognizable identity across the whole ecosystem. Ties it all together.
Absolutely. And it's not just about personal identity. This whole infrastructure is built to support social dApps, decentralized applications, running right there on Pi Social.
Okay, like what kind of dApps?
Well, you could imagine community-built forums, maybe dedicated discussion spaces for DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations.
Right, for specific group governance.
Exactly. Or even Picoin-based reward systems for specific tasks or content, all transparent and verifiable on the blockchain. Developers should get the tools to build these things, connect them to the Pi wallet, use those public smart contracts we mentioned for secure interactions.
So it moves beyond just being a feed, potentially, into a platform for building other social tools.
That's the idea, a true ecosystem for decentralized communities.
Okay, so if your identity is becoming this valuable asset, this social asset, it naturally leads to thinking about how that identity gives you a voice, power even.
Governance?
Right, community governance. And Pi Social is positioned to be the center of that, it seems, shifting power to the users.
A core tenet of Web3.
The source material is pretty specific about who gets voting rights. It says pioneers who've done their KYC verification and migrated to the mainnet.
The verified, active participants.
These pioneers will get voting rights in decision-making, they can submit proposals, maybe even have a say in how network resources are allocated.
That sounds quite democratic on paper.
It does, but, for listeners who've maybe seen other projects promise decentralization, what stops this one from just centralizing again over time? Are there specific mechanisms in Pi Social to prevent that and ensure participation is genuinely broad and fair?
Yeah, that's always the million-dollar question, isn't it? The core mechanism they're relying on is those smart contracts.
Back to the code.
Back to the code. The contracts automate and enforce the rules who can vote, the KYC, mainnet users, how votes are counted. That's the main shield against Sybil attacks or manipulation, ensuring it's legitimate users participating. Now, ensuring it's broad and fair participation, it's harder. It requires good design. Transparent proposal systems, easy voting interfaces, so it's not just the tech whizzes who can participate.
Right, accessibility is key.
Absolutely. Yeah. And mechanisms to make sure different viewpoints get heard. Not just the loudest or most organized groups. It's definitely an ongoing challenge, but the smart contract base provides that guardrail against easy re-centralization.
Okay. Let's shift gears slightly. We've talked about what you can do, how your identity works. What about keeping you safe, security and privacy? Always huge topic.
Paramount, especially in Web3.
The v23.e01 update is supposed to bring big improvements here too, specifically biometric authentication and that passkey-based login we touched on.
Yeah, moving beyond passwords.
It just makes me think of all the times people get accounts hacked because of simple passwords. This passkey thing, it really does sound like a breath of fresh air.
It should be much harder to phish or brute force.
No more trying to remember password 123.
Yeah.
Plus a symbol, right? It's about maximum protection for your account, which seems extra important when your identity and maybe even assets are linked.
Absolutely. And it's not just login security. The data storage architecture itself is changing, moving to a decentralized model.
Okay, why is that a big deal? Isn't data just data?
Well, not quite. Right now, on traditional social media, one company holds all your personal info, your posts, your connections. They control it.
And monetize it.
And monetize it, yes. In a decentralized architecture, the idea is your data is distributed, maybe encrypted and stored across many nodes. It's more resilient to censorship or single points of failure. And fundamentally, you are meant to have control. You should be able to decide how your data is used, which apps can access it. That's a level of privacy and autonomy that centralized platforms just don't offer.
Control back to the user. That's a recurring theme here.
It's central to the whole Web3 promise.
Okay, and finally, let's get to the part that probably excites a lot of people. Monetization. Social rewards on Pi Social.
The potential to earn.
Exactly. Using Picoin integration, that's the Pi Network's native currency, which we should note is still finding its feet in terms of open market value.
Right. Important context. Liquidity is still developing.
But using Picoin and smart contracts, the idea is you can actually earn rewards for contributing.
How would that work, typically?
The rewards could be Picoin tokens, maybe access to special domains or premium features within certain dApps. And the system is designed to tie rewards to your actual social activity. Things like posting good content that gets engagement, participating in governance votes, maybe helping with moderation.
Okay, so not just posting volume, but quality and participation.
That seems to be the goal. And taking part in community events.
This really could be a significant paradigm shift if it works well. Traditional social media. The value you create, your posts, your photos, your clicks, it mainly benefits the platform's bottom line.
We're the product, essentially.
Often, yes. Here, the idea is your social value gets converted into actual digital assets you own. Picoin, potentially NFTs, other tokens. What's really crucial, though, is how they structure those rewards. Other tokenized social platforms have struggled with spam, low-quality content just to farm tokens.
Right, gaming the system.
Exactly. So tying rewards specifically to things like moderation, quality engagement, governance voting that could incentivize constructive behavior over just noise. It means creators, active members, even moderators could potentially get tangible benefits. It creates a different kind of digital economy where engagement is directly valued.
It's an exciting vision, but let's be balanced. Even with all these ambitious updates, there are always hurdles, challenges, community expectations.
Always. No project launches perfectly.
So putting it all together, what's the bigger picture here? The community itself has pointed out some things.
Like what?
Well, that limited liquidity of Picoin on open markets, that's a real factor right now. Makes the earning aspect less tangible for some.
A common issue for newer crypto projects, yeah? Utility drives demand, which drives liquidity. It's a process.
True. There's also a perception, at least among some, of dependence on the core team for big decisions, which can feel at odds with the whole decentralization goal, especially early on.
Another classic challenge. Often, a core team needs to guide the initial stages, but there needs to be a clear path towards handing off more control as the community and the tech mature. Progressive decentralization.
And finally, developers need good tools. There's apparently a need for more comprehensive technical docs, SDKs, stuff to make it easier for people to actually build those dApps we talked about.
Absolutely vital for ecosystem growth. You need to empower builders. Look, these are all legitimate points, and they're pretty common hurdles for any project trying to do something this ambitious in the decentralized space.
So not necessarily deal breakers?
Not necessarily. Limited liquidity often improves with adoption and real utility, which these Pi Social upgrades and the open network are aiming to provide. The governance model needs time to evolve and prove its decentralization path. And developer tools. That's always an ongoing effort, responding to feedback. The source material seems optimistic that with strong community backing and a clear roadmap, Pi Social can overcome these. Leaning on the community to build things out is key. The end goal, they state, is becoming one of the most inclusive and decentralized social platforms in Web3. These challenges are part of that journey, not necessarily roadblocks.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, the main takeaway seems clear. Pi Social isn't just being polished, it's being rebuilt
Fundamentally re-architected.
to be the social foundation for the entire Pi network. It's aiming to be a truly decentralized space for how we interact, how we govern communities, and how value is shared.
Putting identity and community right at the center.
It's a complete rethink, really.
Yeah, and I like that line from the source material. How in Pi Social, every contribution is not just a post, it's part of the architecture of the future.
That's quite poetic, actually.
It is, but it highlights the potential impact, right? That individual actions, when they're tied to a verifiable identity and processed through smart contracts in a decentralized system, aren't just fleeting interactions.
Yeah.
They're building blocks. It suggests a future where your digital life isn't just data for someone else, but it's your active contribution